went back to Santa Barbara, and I've been here ever since. I met my wife here, and Deb, you want to stand real quick? Wait. So Deb ran the Oak Room, which was, there were two famous restaurants to go to lunch. And Cliff, you probably remember this as a Great Tree. So the media, I know many of you really well. I know all of you by name. Everybody I know here in the High Desert has said they feel we're broken, we are broken, but the problem is nobody's willing to take on the challenge. Well, I'm not willing to personally take on the challenge by myself, but with the help of some people like John O'Haney with Tapestry, which is going to be the nicest master plan community that will break ground in a year from January down in Hesperia, 15,663 homes. John has agreed to underwrite this survey, as has Randall Lewis of Lewis Operating Illustrated agreed to underwrite this survey, which Dr. Sirotnik is going to talk about as soon as I get off here. That cost us $16,700. And it's a three-part survey with residents, businesses, and government to figure out what's gone wrong. So the documents I gave you are really intended for you to go on home, and if you drink, you're going to drink a little bit more after you read them. If you don't drink, you might drink after you read them. But really, I think, to give you an idea of some of the things that have happened. Numbers. Some of the numbers that are staggering. When I moved up here in 1988, it was doing about $225 million a year annual sales of homes. The number ran up to 2005 when the market was incredible to $4.5 billion. Dropped down in 2010 to $1 billion, and we're at $1.7 billion today. So our volume is way down. What I've also recently found, and this is, I think, a challenge to our local real estate industry, is 40% of the listings now are listed without an area real estate. That's because we're now a part of a bigger multiple listing service, and I think that creates just competition as it is. On the building permit side, and on the resale, we're back about 80% of where we were in 2008. We're at about 250 to 260,000. We're at 330,000 back in 2008 when we tanked. Most markets in Southern California and the state have not only recovered, but have done even better. But for some unknown reason, this portion of Southern California is stagnant. The one number, so we talked about resales. Let's talk about new home permits. So when I first started looking at the High Desert here, I followed a gentleman by the name of Ira Norris. Does anybody here remember Ira Norris at Legal Homes? Okay. Ira Norris came out with a 49,990 home, right behind where the mall is today. And in the first week of February 1981, when the prime lever, he closed 6 homes. Why? Because the High Desert was an affordable place to move. When I moved over here, then years later, there was a delta of about $2,000 a mile. Why people would move from Fontana and Southridge, or they would move on up here because they could get a home and they could raise their kids. I'll say this in 2000. So I date myself. In about 2011, we hosted. I sit on the SIOR executive board, so I'm honored to be a part of probably the best, the top class of industrial office programs in the world by deals that we've done. So you can't buy the designation. And we had a gentleman that Dr. Husing knows, Dr. Hassan Rada. Hassan used to run the Southern California Association of Governments. So he has 7 counties, 193 cities, 24 million people or whatever below the hill. And at this private dinner that we had him speak at Newport, he raised his finger and he said, Brady, they will not be building any more McMansions in Apple Valley. Oh, wow. Well, about 5 minutes before he got done, I had to leave. And the next one, I said, well, what did you mean by that? He said, Joe, you're going to see a change in the next 10 years about where people are going to move, where they're going to move, what they're going to buy. He said these millennials, millennials back then, that was kind of a new buzzword, back 8-9 years ago. He said you're going to see a very different group of people and how they buy. They may not buy a house because they saw their parents get crushed through the last downturn. And he said, and we also believe that downtown will expand. So at the time, downtown had about 10,000 people. Today it has almost 60,000. So there's a reason that we don't see people coming up and down the paths here, as we talked about. Dr. Husing and I were talking last week about one of the challenges that we think will come out of this survey might be the go-home pass. Although Caltrans and Sandbag, associated governments, spent almost $500 million pass. It seems like it's worse than it was. The last, so on new home permits, I came from the home building industry. I was vice president of Pegasus Development in Santa Barbara. My wife and I took a stab at building 79 homes out in Barstow in 2004, and we got out before we drank all the lemonade or whatever that the market. My partners thought that we were going to be selling 500,000 of our homes out there, and we finally got out of that deal. But one of the numbers that's rather staggering, between 2000 and 2008, we built 34,000 homes in the Mojave River Valley. Between 2009 and 2018, we built 4,445 homes. We're off 88%. So we have a problem. And I believe that there are buyers on out there, but I think one of the things that will be uncovered through this study and through the survey is why people are not moving up here. So during the survey, there'll probably be 10 items that come on back. Could be crime, perception of high desert, lack of infrastructure, the go-home pass, too much welfare. So one of the things that we gave you was the spreadsheet on welfare, and you'll notice the numbers. They've been steady. They're climbing. We're at $1.2 billion that come into the valley right now. So if you want to see what we saw yesterday when we went to Costco early in the morning, it's the beginning of the month, you have a lot of people that have a loaded EBT card, and they do really well, and they're in and out. Well, $1.2 billion coming in this valley is quite a bit when you figure that the high desert, I think total sales tax, and only Dr. Husing would know this, I think only John, because I read a report last night on this area does retail. I think our valley does about $4 billion a year total in sales tax. So it gives you an idea that 1/4 of our sales taxes is based on entitlement. Now I want to go on the record and say this, entitlement is not where the problem is. Entitlement where people are just playing the entitlement game is a problem. Deb and I own a property management company out of Barstow. People in Arizona only live for 3 years. And then they go right down Interstate 4, they get to Barstow, they come on in, and she has to accept whatever they give her because that's the law. So I think that it's an issue that we're going to need to...
It's important that we find out what do the residents think, what do business people think, what do government officials think of this region, and how can we put all that together and actually find some solutions. So what's our plan? What we do is we're going to do a survey of all 3 types of groups. Again, residents, businesses, and government officials. And we need to find out what they think so that we can measure improvement. Think about it. If you cannot measure it, you can't improve it. Folks, how many of you have ever gone on a diet in your lives? Most of us have, right? Well, don't you step on the scale every once in a while to see how much you've lost? Or most of us are into sports of some kind. Can you imagine playing golf but not keeping track of your score to see if you're improving at all? You have to measure it so that you can improve it, and that's really what we're all about here. We need to establish a sound baseline of what's good about the community, what needs to work about the community, and then hopefully once we give people a voice, once we do that community engagement, then we can find solutions and we can hold people accountable. I know that scares some people, but we need to hold people accountable because the fear of crime of people in this region is almost at the level of the fear of crime of people who live in San Bernardino and some of the areas that are a little bit challenged. That absolutely blew me away. We're also going to be asking people who work here but live elsewhere, why? Why don't you live here? What's keeping you living where you are? Now, it may be a very saying of we have a house, we don't want to move. But it may be something saying, I don't want to be up there. That's not the environment I want to live in. And we have to find that out. We're going to be asking about fear of being a victim of a serious crime. That's important to be asking about. We'll ask them, what do you think about the high desert economy? How has that changed over time? Those do at highdesertsurvey.com. We're doing final tweaks on the survey and on the landing page, so it'll be available in about 2 weeks. We need you folks to let everybody know, everyone that you know, go to that page, answer the survey. We're going to be asking about best and worst things. We're also going to be asking people who work here but live elsewhere, why? Why don't you live here? What's keeping you living where you are? Now, it may be a very saying of we have a house, we don't want to move. But it may be something saying, I don't want to be up there. That's not the environment I want to live in. And we have to find that out. We're going to be asking about fear of being a victim of a serious crime. That's important to be asking about. We'll ask them, what do you think about the high desert economy? How has that changed over time?
Barbara said that she started, was in 1980. I started teaching in San Bernardino Valley College at the ripe old age of 23 in 1964. So this is my 55th year of looking at the economy of these two counties of the Inland Empire. And so, to some extent, what I'm doing, talking or thinking about is stuff I've lived through, not just study numbers about. As was said, I also, at one point for 10 years, professionally ran political campaigns. So I elected city councilman, one of our PAs, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors. I elected 5 people into the California State Assembly. So for 10 years, I basically never slept. And I was a crazy person. I had to end that because my current wife, who's my 4th, we just celebrated our 29th anniversary, so. But Deborah said, if you don't get out of politics, we don't have a chance of even having a long conversation again. Now, based upon my experience sort of living, and most of that time, I lived in San Bernardino. So I watched San Bernardino die. And I understand and have studied and talked about, well, dealt with issues to try and fix it, and was completely unsuccessful because the political dynamic never worked, and frankly in that town today still doesn't work. If you go back before San Bernardino, the other place that had the same set of problems was Pomona. And Pomona died and has never really come back. So my fear for the Victor Valley is what occurs here is precisely what occurred in Pomona and later occurred in San Bernardino, and right now is also occurring out in the Heber San Jacinto area of Riverside County. Now the dynamic in every case was the same. It starts out with a boom in housing, a crash, and all of a sudden a significant share of the housing stock becomes detached single-family rentals. I've done a lot of research on the effect of that, and one of the studies was done up here, which was to track calls for police service by type of residence, and by far calls for police service from detached single-family dwellings, not apartment houses, was the #1 place that you got calls for police service. So once that begins to happen, what you end up with is a very large number of people living in the community who are renters with no particular stake in it. They aren't homeowners who, as part of being homeowners, are developing their houses and become a serious part of the thinking of a community because they have a huge financial stake. And that happened in Pomona, it happened in San Bernardino, it has happened to you up here. And as I said, it's happened to them in San Jacinto. Because one of the things that I have learned over these years is if you ask political leaders to take on these issues, they can't. They can't do it. It is beyond their ability. The governments are too underfunded, and they have too many interests in things like re-election. So if you depend on that to be the source of change, forget it. It's not going to happen. And so that is a really important starting point for my remarks, that if you're going to do it, where's it going to come from? Educators. It's going to come from developers with a stake in the success of the community, from real estate firms, the service clubs, the business owners, the chambers of commerce, those kinds of groups who traditionally don't play that kind of a role of leadership in trying to change the dynamic of a community. That's why it fails, because you're relying on people who are elected, and quite frankly, you can't, just because of the nature of who they are and what they do. But what the data is telling me, so I'll be looking at issues like demographics. How fast is the population growing, slowing down, all the rest of that. Age levels, the income distribution, the ethnicity in the community, adult educational levels, which are crucial to trying to get the economy to shift. Then moving over to things like quality of life. How well are the schools performing? What's the crime rate, the welfare rate, the availability of technical and higher education courses, calls for police service by types of homes. I want to look at that again. Then there's a whole employment. The problem that will jump out of the employment data, I already know. Most of the employment in the valley is population-serving employment. Population-serving employment generally pays $30,000 and below, not above. And that is a disproportionately large part of your economy, because the basic firms which bring money into a community aren't really located up here, with a very few exceptions, and most of you know them. You have, like, for instance, the bottling company. You have what's going on with some of the companies out at here, former Air Base. And I have the data already to look at what sectors have done what over the last 20 years, what in terms of job creation, in terms of payroll, and average pay per sector, and I can track that over a period of time, which is fascinating, because it also shows me, to a large extent, what are the competitive advantage up here that need to be stressed. Then there's housing, existing home sales, new home sales, existing home prices, new home prices. But most importantly, what share of the housing stock is in the hands of absentee owners, people who are renting them. There's a lot of money to be made selling houses to absentee landlords. Well, one of the things you have to do, quite frankly, is stop it. Because if that goes on, you are basically participating in destroying your community. And I know there's money to be made there. That's one of those places you need to keep your hands out of the till. Then taxable sales by city, as well as assessed valuation. Because one of the things that those data show is that over time, if you adjust what's happened, though the levels are starting to get back to the 07 levels, not if you adjust for price increases. So the purchasing power of the cities to be able to do anything for the citizenry has in fact gone down. And then there are the key assets here. Victor Valley College, Southern California Logistics Airport, the mineral deposits, which are giving you some incredibly well-paying companies up here. The potential alternate routes to get down the 15 freeway. I always find coming up here on the 15 freeway is a little bit like being in a NASCAR race. You've got BNSF and UP Railroads, and one of your key, absolute important groups is the Mojave Air Quality Management District, which is not the Southern California Air Quality Management District. Thank God, because the level of anger that businesses have, justifiably, with the Southern California AQFD, really is one of the major deterrents to job growth down the hill. Then out of this, I think we're going to see, again, I'll be looking at what Barbara generates, but these issues. The significant share of rental single-family homes. Are there, and I work a lot on this issue. I know that strategies can be used for it. I know how hard it is to implement it. I know that no city up here is really tried and probably never will. I only know one city that's done it successfully, and it was small enough to be able to pull it off. But it is trench warfare. City of Moreno Valley is still battling this same issue because the problem back in the 1980s. It is tough. Almost all of what remains is about 2,600 acres on the eastern side of the city of Moreno Valley, together with what's up here and what's out in the low desert in the North Palm Springs area, that part on the I-10 freeway. So that means the sector is finally going to have to go the next step. They're now in Beaumont. If you had said to anybody in that field, are you going to build a major facility in Beaumont to serve Southern California, every single executive in logistics would say you're out of your mind. Well, you have a 750,000 square foot facility from Amazon that is broken ground in Beaumont. We should end up with strategy, but hopefully buy-in from the people who need to lead it. And I will again underscore, they aren't elected officials, it is you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Brown.